Good evening, everyone. Welcome. My name is Joe Davich, and I'm the Executive Director here at the Georgia Center for the Book. And on behalf of the Georgia Center for the Book, DeKalb County Public Library, and the DeKalb Library Foundation, welcome to another in our continuing series of virtual author events. Tonight, of course, we are featuring the book launch for Benji Carr's Impacted, and we are so very glad that you are here joining us for this event this evening. A few things before we get started. If you would like to ask a question after we have our formal conversation, please feel free to use the Q&A feature. You'll find the Q&A button at the top or the bottom of the screen, depending on your device. And also, if you require live transcription, we do have that turned on. So all you need to do is click the live transcript button at the top or the bottom of your screen, and you can resize the font to however large you desire it to be. We'd also like to remind you that our bookseller this evening is Eagle Eye Books in Decatur, Georgia. We'll put the ordering link over in the chat section if you would like to order a copy of the book this evening. We encourage everyone, no matter where you are, to order from our local and independent bookstores across the country that have done so much during the pandemic to provide us with reading materials, whether it be books mailed to our home, curbside pickup, or like some bookstores here in Atlanta, actually did porch drop-off. Independent bookstores are such a vital part of our literary community, especially our Black-owned independent bookstores. So we encourage you to shop from them as well. Right now, of course, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our guests this evening and get this started for you all. As a child growing up in the South, journalist, storyteller, and playwright Benji Carr developed an eye for the bizarre and the quirky, which provided all of the fodder for the stories he told to his friends and family. His eclectic body of work that includes personal tales of struggle and survival, or fiction about cannibal lunch ladies, puppet romances, drag queen funerals, and perverted killer circus clowns, was featured in The Guardian, Arts ATL, and Pembroke Magazine, and he has told these stories at Carapace, The Moth, and Write Club Atlanta. On stage, his pieces were presented at the Center for Puppetry Arts, the Alliance Theater, and as part of the Samuel French Off-Broadway Short Play Festival in Manhattan. He lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and helps run the online literary magazine Gut Wrench Journal. Impacted is his debut novel. Tonight, of course, he will be interviewed by Brian Panowich, who is an award-winning author, a Georgia firefighter, and a father of 4 incredible children. His first novel, Bull Mountain, was a Los Angeles Times Book Prize finalist, ITW Thriller Award winner for Best First Novel, Southern Book Prize winner, and finalist for the Anthony and Barry Awards. It was also placed on the list of books all Georgians should read. At that particular ceremony was also the first time Brian Panowich probably caused me a large pulmonary event when he decided to speak from the stage to then Governor Nathan Deal. But that speech, of course, shows his great capacity for candor and wit, which I am sure will be on display for you all this evening. So will you please join me to welcome Brian Panowich and debut novelist Benji Carr. Gentlemen.
We got
oh, hi, sorry, I was just reading there. How are you?
I'm well, my friend. How are you?
I'm completely nuts. This is crazy.
I tell you what, man, today is your day, right? This is the big launch of Impacted, your debut novel. I had the opportunity to read this book way before anyone else, and I have been a champion of this novel because this is a ceiling buster, and we'll get into that in just a minute. I would like to thank Joe for having me out here on this for Georgia Center of the Book, because yeah, last time I was there, I scared him to death. But I couldn't pass up the opportunity to talk to you, Benji. When did we meet? 2016, somewhere around there.
2015, 2016, and I scare Joe Davich all the time. But
I remember I was there. I was speaking at an engagement, and you came up as a fan, I guess, and was like, "Hey, man," and just this very unassuming young man who was talking writing and had some questions about the business. And you just meet people sometimes, and you're like, "Wow, this is somebody I want around in my life." You know, you kind of have that glow about you. I've never met anyone who had a bad word to say about you, and then here we are, boom! I get to interview you for your first book, man. And it's not just a fantastic book. It's a, in my opinion, it's a breakthrough for Southern literature, and it's a breakthrough for us as Georgia scribes, man. And I am honored to be part of a community that includes you in this book. So thank you for letting me do this tonight.
I am completely gobsmacked anytime you say anything positive about my book, because again, in my head, 2015, 2016, I'm still that guy working the front, the front check-in at Broadleaf. And so the thing that I was fine to do is to just attend writing conferences, talk to people, and if you can't afford to attend, then volunteer, go up, say hello to everybody, and do what you can to have something to say. I was a huge fan of your book, as you know, and I kept thinking, but wait, the ending. And so and
I think that was the first thing you said to me when you came up. You were like, was that what you meant to do in the end, or what's the story there? And it went to show your insight as far as fiction is concerned, because it absolutely was not. And so you knew right away as a writer that's not the way it was supposed to happen. And yeah, you called me out on it immediately. Maybe that's why I liked you so much, was your blunt honesty, which this book is chock full of for being a mystery thriller,
Well, that and you and I are both snarky to the same people. And so that's what happens. But no, I would just show up at all of the thriller panels and just try to figure out the right way to kill someone. And the fact that you have now talked to enough people and no one has a bad word to say about me means that you haven't talked to enough people. But still.
Or I'm just surrounding myself with the right people. So, and that's what I want to say about that. That was great advice, though, man. Going to and including yourself in a community and finding a place or a niche where you can help out and volunteer and be part of it, even from behind the scenes. I've done that quite a bit, and that's how I met a lot of my friends in the community, and it pays off. I mean, it's a testament to your tenacity, Ben, that this book is a thing now, because you clearly could have just fallen into the backdrop of working around it, or you could make yourself the center of it, which is where you are right now. And this is not a small thing. This is going to be a huge thing. I can tell you that. I want to talk about the book a little bit, if that's cool.
Of course.
I will say that Impacted is one of those books where the revelations come immediately. There's like from chapter 2, the bombs start to hit. And so you are constantly getting smacked across the mouth with something new that furthers this story and spirals this main character of Wade down the drain. And you just don't know how it's going to end. And it keeps you guessing, but you don't hold back. And what I mean by that is I'm on page 12, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but this is giving you a kind of an idea of where Benji's head is in the beginning of this novel. That's there's no pun intended there. But I'm just going to read this one line. Just do it, Wade instructed the oral surgeon. Okay, that from right there, you're kind of in the middle of it. And you either stop there or you keep going. And it's almost like, man, what the hell is Benji going to do next? That's going to make me squirm with both uncomfortable delight and thrilling filthiness. Is that okay to say?
That's perfectly apt. I think that I told you once that what I wanted to do was write this short story for Shotgun Honey, which was one of the first places to ever publish you. I think that's where your agent actually found you.
The very first, correct.
Yes. And so they specialize in short, intense pulp crime. And so I was just going to write this short story about like a little bit of flash about like a woman who's having an affair with her dentist and wants to dump him, and it ends violently. But then I realized I don't know enough about what it's like to be a middle-aged married woman. So instead, I ended up writing what I know, which was what it's like to be like a sort of closeted gay guy with entirely too many secrets in the middle of like a suburban hometown.
So would you say that that's where the book sprang from? Not just that concept that you were going to sell as flash fiction, but would you say that this came from your history? Tell us about where the book initiated from, outside of just that small inkling of an idea with a dentist. There's so much more going on here.
All right. Long story. I'll try to be brief for Joe's sake. When I was in high school, I started to write a soap opera with my best friend, Vicky Schotten. We were bored in French class one day and we needed a distraction. So I would just write these short, brief, like 3-4 pages in a notebook of happenings of what was going on in this small town. And I would just write to cliffhanger every single time, to the point where I was trying to get Vicky to guess what would happen next, and always try to appeal just to her sensibility in order to determine like where it's going to go. And occasionally I would give her a list of characters and tell her and ask her who she wanted me to kill next. So she is who the book is dedicated to. She was my first beta reader in regard to it. I am still just trying in general to make cliffhangers that make her happy or make her surprised. And in the process of writing this, I just kept writing to cliffhanger, and I would send it out to a handful of people, like Jessica Nettles, who you know, and Carrie Gibson out of London, friend of mine. And as we would get to the cliffhanger, I would just leave it, but I would tell them that they weren't allowed to comment on anything because I wanted no interference or anybody to guess where I was going before I got there. And that really helped in terms of formulating both the pace and the twists. And then as I'm writing, I started to realize exactly how messed up Wade was. And then I realized that you could reveal that in pieces. So right. It's still like chapter 5, and you're still finding out stuff that betrays this picture of a person that you've already built in your head as a reader.
Well, and that's what I was saying about the revelations and the way they come at you. It's almost every chapter there's a new chunk of information that either you weren't expecting or leaves you, okay, well, I got to read the paragraph of the next chapter before I go to bed. You know what I mean? And then you get to the end of it and you're like, shit, now I got to do it. I got to read another chapter. And that's essentially how the book goes. It's almost, I don't want to say serialized as far as like old school, you know, how they would put them out in magazines, like chapter.
Right, like Dickens.
It does read that way. At the end of every chapter, there's a whack, or at the beginning of a chapter, there's a whack, and you've got to see what happens next. That is something that I'll say, from my perspective, has been incredibly hard to do as a mystery writer and as a thriller writer, or to be consistent about. And it just seems like you can do it on a whim. And it's brilliant. And so is that something that took you a long time to get to, like you were talking about, like having other people read it? Or was it just something that just came naturally to you? Have you always read like that? Have you always expected to write like that? This book is not just a crime thriller. I mean, there's a whole lot of coming of age in here. There's a shitload of humor in here. I mean, it's a very, very funny book. If you have a very open sense of humor, you know, like I do. And it challenges you to think about things outside of your box. And we'll get to how big a challenge it was for me in just a second. But is that something that came easily?
All right, here it goes. This is my first novel. Yes, please brace yourself. This is my first novel. This is not my first try.
Got it.
I need everyone who ever thought about writing a book to hear that and know that. I am 45 years old. I have been doing this since I was 15. And what we do is we hone our voice. We learn what works for us. We pay attention to what stories appeal to us. So I was talking earlier about soap operas and how they hook you with this sense of family, but then they also keep you hooked on, wait, I want that thing to happen. Or they'll give you, the reader or the viewer, a secret, and then you'll wait to see how it plays out with everyone else. Your book, Bull Mountain, hardcover, signed. Okay. Your book did that from the jump. You start with a flashback, building with history. You deal with a murder. You don't deal necessarily in characters that have been grounded yet. Like, you don't know where you are and you just throw them right into the middle of it. And then, because yours does a massive time jump, you then, it gives you a sense of like how the history of that small moment, which granted is a murder, comes to affect generations upon generations of people. That's one of the reasons I love soap opera and Dickensian fiction, just all sorts of stuff, because you don't know how something is going to echo. You throw a pebble into the middle of water. You throw a pebble into the middle of your reader's brain and just let it resonate. And then when they guess where you're going or don't guess where you're going, either way, you have them hooked and hopefully satisfied.
Well, that's a great way to say that, man. I love that. And I just want to point out that you have a rabid fan base going on here in the chat. I don't know if you can see that or not, but
I can see it.
Every time you say something, you speak to power. And man, there's so many people just jumping up and calling you an inspiration. And you are. Go ahead.
Oh, stop. Hold on a second. Allow me once again to speak to power. The people that are in that chat, if I know who they are, and I know who they are, hopefully, are the ones who kind of give me power. And they're the ones who are sitting in audiences, no matter where I am, if I'm reading in a bookstore or reading like on stage or just in general. This city of Atlanta and all of its surrounding communities filled with artists. And what we do as a community is to not only like take room for ourselves, but we try to cheer on others as well. And I know that you encourage that because you always want the people that you champion to be there in the audience for you. We build each other up. It's what we do.
Well, it's family almost. If not the definition of family for me. I had when I was brand new to this, and I was like you said, you'd been doing it since you were 15 years old. I've been writing since I can remember, and all of a sudden I was the overnight sensation, but I had been the 20-year overnight sensation to me. But when I came into this, I was surrounded by so many incredible authors, especially in the genre that we're in, of crime fiction and mysteries and thrillers. They're just these monumental names that came down and put a hand up and said, here, let me lift you up into the light. And so I've always felt like it was my responsibility to do that for everyone who was coming up after me. And hopefully they can even outshine me, because that means that I'm part of something even bigger than myself. And that is something that you have always done. And I can't imagine you not doing it in the future, because this is only book one of your career. This is the beginning of a career. And I will say this, and I think that I'm seeing it over here from quite a few people that love you, man, is that take these compliments, man, and own them, because this isn't something that a community did. And you can say that thank you for your help, but you wrote this thing, man. You did this. And so you can say it without, it doesn't say down here by Benji Carr and community. It says by Benji Carr. And that is a huge accomplishment. Especially when we start talking about the things I want to talk about next. Which
Okay.
Before we talked, I'd said, Ben, do you want how much of Ben is a writer and how much of you is a queer writer, is a gay writer? And you were like, I'm a gay writer all the time. And I think that this book right here, I'm a straight hetero man, right? But you put me into the shoes of someone that I could not have ever put myself into without it being laid out for me in layman's terms. And you did it from like page 12. And I fell straight into this character and understood the pain and the complications and the just straight up effed upness of how desperate he became and how insanely chaotic someone's life can be when you live in the South and you're gay. And that is something that I think is going to speak volumes beyond the story, is that you had the balls to put this out there and say unapologetically, this is not for everyone, but if you have the nuts to read it, then it can possibly be bigger than you. And so tell me about that. Are you scared of that? Was the polarization going to be a big deal for you? Or did you not care, cram it down in somebody's throat? Or were you just saying, this is my story, I'm going to tell it? I know I just asked you like 8 questions in one.
Oh, please, I'm fine. No, it's
right.
just, well, I'm still hung up on the fact that you say that I threw you straight into something and then referred to yourself as a layman. But anyway, it's just,
the academic is coming out of you now.
I appreciate that. No, actually, it's the double entendre. But the thing that gets me every time is I was writing this in a Dunkin' Donuts, like on North Druid Hills till 4 a.m. No one was gonna see it. Like I was writing it for 3 or 4 people. It's not the first thing that I've written for like a handful of people. I make up stories all the time and just send them out to people. And I always write cliffhangers so that I always have to keep going to some extent. And when you're writing with no sense that anyone's ever really going to see it on a large scale, you take risks that you assume would not be allowed because because you know, screw it, you can do whatever you want. So I ended up writing the craziest character I could think of, and the dumbest murder weapon that I could think of. And then I stuck that poor character with carrying around that murder weapon for a really long time.
Don't give him too much, Benji.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. But I wish, for the sake of being able to like go back and do it over again, or like to write another book, I wish that I still had that sense of daring where it just came, where I was just writing for myself or writing for my friends or something like that. And so that if I know that I keep 1 or 2 people entertained rather than in my head trying to entertain like a massive amount of people, then that works. Like, again, I wrote you a bio to read for me earlier that they wouldn't let us do, because I just wanted to make you laugh on camera in front of everyone. And
okay.
And so that's what you have to pay attention to in terms of storytelling. You have to pay attention to not trying to get everyone to like you, but trying to get someone to like you, someone who gets it. There will be one person who gets it. There will be one person who this resonates with. And that way, when you're talking about harder topics like abuse or coming out, stuff like that, there's going to be one person in the audience who hears that in their soul. And that person is the one person that you need to reach. so that you're still successful, even if your book doesn't sell at all.
Right. Well, I think that that you are, and this is just me projecting, but I feel like you're going to be a champion of that kind of thing, because this book is, like I said, is very unapologetic about its talk of abuse and its talk of the hardships it takes to be gay. And God, there's so much I want to say about the book that I can't without spoiling it.
I know.
I mean, there's like, seriously, I can't even tell you much about the main character, because if I say too much, it's going to wreck the first 4 chapters for everybody.
I had to write a plot description to put on the outside of the book. And I'm like, but I can't say that, and I can't say that, and I can't say that.
Right.
And I had to give away 2 things, because otherwise you have no sense of what's going on.
And it's funny because the back of the book, I mean, it's I love it because it's full of wit. But the synopsis on the back of the book, or the cover flap, is not genuine to the story so much as I can understand how you were trying to pull teeth, no pun intended, on on how to get this written without telling anybody anything, which was it was hard, because I didn't read this till after I read the book. It was the last thing I read, because the last page. But I was like, wow, man, that makes it sound so Benji Carr light. You know,
I know it sounds so vanilla and
right.
so singularly focused, and yet at the same time it's still not pure. There's still just little wink winks in it, and that's just the outside jacket copy.
Right. Well, here's something I wanted to ask you. And I feel like this is the heart of what's going to happen over your career, or at least I hope so, because I hope that like you talked about, letting there be one person that can relate to that and be able to be pulled out of something, or for you to help them find some sort of roadmap out of some ugliness, or to be their genuine self. I think there's going to be a lot more than one. And when there are a lot more than one, how do you feel about being the guy that cracked that ceiling wide open, man, for LGBTQ plus writers in the Deep South? I mean, because that's a huge deal, Benji. And if this is what I feel is going to be a major splash in the literary, especially crime and thriller genre, coming from people like Chandler, who are so incredibly homophobic. You write so much like him, as far as your noir sense, that that guy was so unapologetically homophobic, but even in some of his books, Philip Marlowe was kind of sliding to the left a little bit. But now you're like, boom, I'm going to write in the same genre as someone like Chandler, and I'm going to make it my way. I'm going to make it as queer as I want to.
Well, no, that's the thing. When you look at The Big Sleep, or you look at Farewell, My Lovely, or something like that, and I was reading those, and I just, even when it was homophobic, his language describing gay people of the 30s and 40s was so blunt and tacky and hilarious that I kept laughing, and then realizing, oh no, I have internalized homophobia. But then I realized, wait a second, like, this is how newspapers work. I had a newspaper professor, Conrad Fink, who was the best. He said that he wanted to know the color of the towel that the woman hanged herself with in every news story. Or you look at other crime writers from newspapers, like Edna Buchanan, Carl Hyacin, those people wrote news in a way that was compelling and tacky, because compelling and tacky is fun.
You're right. I mean, and it's sensationalist when it's not coming from the genuine article. You know what I mean? And so there's a few characters in my book where I want to touch on every aspect of people that I know in Georgia. So I've included some gay characters in my books, but there are pitfalls to where they're relegated to sidekicks or the gay friend or something like that. But like for me to write a gay protagonist would be incredibly tough to do without consulting you constantly. So like for you to put that character in there and to make him accessible to everybody else, did you care if he was accessible to anybody else? Like, I know that you say that, you know, I can write without abandon because I don't care who's going to, nope, I don't know if anybody's going to read it. But now that you know people are going to read it, you know it's out there, and you know it could possibly be a huge deal, which I am encouraging everybody to make happen. When, like I said, man, when you become the champion of that character and that character type, are you going to continue to push that agenda? Because that's a great agenda to be in charge of, because it's about goddamn time. I'm sorry, Joe, about time, you know? And I feel like there needs to be that strong voice, man. And there are a couple of authors out there who have done it, you know, prior to you. This is not new ground that's being covered, but you're covering it in a brand new sense, and you're covering it from Georgia, which is massive. You're not in California, you're not in New York, you know, you're in Georgia. And they don't expect that coming out of here. And you did it. You pulled it off. It's like a hat trick, man. And so are you going to continue down that vein, man, to be that guy that everybody wants to do that? Or do you not know?
I don't know. I don't know. Like, because again, it's just in my nature to not take credit for anything that, because, which I use as a sort of motivator. I always feel like if I acknowledge that I've done something, then that means that I won't be able to do it again. Or if like, so you try not to let yourself get too comfortable, which really helps when you're writing horribly uncomfortable fiction. I can tell you what I know about Wade, which, I mean, he came from my head, but like, I just loved him so much because he was such an idiot, and he's like fumbling and making these terrible mistakes, and he's going through this incredibly emotional time, and he's avoiding responsibility for anything while at the same time also blaming himself for a lot, and he doesn't know what he's doing or how to survive it. He's only interested in what's going to happen in the next hour. And I know what that feels like.
A lot of pain in that book, Benji. There's a lot of pain in that book. And it's obvious as a reader that the humor in it is a vehicle to get that pain across without it being so overbearing that it's too tough to read. And so that's something that you, like I said, that's a tightrope that you have been able to balance almost as like a magic trick, man. I've never been able to see that done so well, to balance that pain and humor. And that's something that you do and you're incredibly good at. And is, like I said, is that something that is easy for you to put out on the page, or is it something that was tough and heart-wrenching to do? I know personally, people want to know, Benji.
I'm not sure whether to talk first in regard to the humor or to talk first in regard to the pain.
Let's go with the pain, man, because I think that's the point.
All right. There are moments and conversations that occur late in the book that deal with trauma and how to process it, and how to have a support system, and how to survive. And it took me years and years, unfortunately, in regard to my own traumatic experiences, to be able to handle that the right way. I've handled it the wrong way for so long, but now being at the age I'm at now, I can look back upon like past versions of myself and give my own self the advice that no one was able to give me at the time. And I can imagine conversations between characters that are better versions of conversations that I've tried and failed to have with people. It's revisionist to an extent. It's therapeutic and it's healthy. I advise it as an exercise for anyone. Go back to really painful parts of your life from a safe distance, keep yourself safe, and try to imagine the advice that you would give yourself or the guidance that you would give yourself. Be the friend for yourself that you wished that you had. And then also, be grateful for the friends that you did have. Sorry.
No, it's all right. Listen,
It's okay. The ones that kept me alive. It's really hard to recognize that, like, for every accomplishment that you meant that you made, that you were standing on the shoulders of everyone else who lifted you up. God, I'm gonna be so ugly in this video. I'm just gonna cry so much.
No, you're not, man.
My mother always advised me, though, that if you're crying, have some water. That way it will stop you, because it's impossible to cry while drinking water. So every time I see like a crying child in a store, I'm like, here, have some water. And then some parent will be like, who are you, you strange man? Get away from me. But anyway, sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is exactly why Benji Carr is going to be monumental in the literary world, right there. You're welcome. This book is exactly what we need. It's what everybody needs right now, man. It is something that is absolutely for the guy who is looking for some kind of safe place. And this is what you did. You laid it out. You gave it to us, and it's beautiful, Benji. I mean, you're a beautiful person, and if anybody hasn't seen you before or met you before, they just witnessed exactly why they should read this book, because there's nothing but love, passion, pain, and heartbreak in it, and all of that shit is what makes good literature. It's what makes great fiction. The revisionist example that you gave was wonderful, because going back and revisiting those ideas and where you failed and turning them around and making them work in your head as a fictionary story makes you stronger in real life, I think.
There is a character in the book that I created who is like essentially like dream boyfriend material, who is unlike any man that I've ever actually met in human life. But anyway, so now that you've told everyone just how like spectacular and inspirational and wonderful the book is, do you think that I should read some of the book just so that we could show them? I was
gonna say, here's what we're gonna do. The intro that you were talking about, I'm gonna read that one. Because Benji went out of his way to crack me up this afternoon.
No.
So I'm gonna hit it, and then you're gonna read from the book. How's that sound, man?
All right.
You ready? Okay, Benji learned to read before he could walk, which may explain why he walked so badly. Doctors say it was cerebral palsy, but maybe his priorities are just a mess. He tells damn good stories sometimes, and he's done so at Right Club Atlanta, the Moth Atlanta, Naked City, in newspapers, on stages, on street corners, and at dinner parties. He attended the University of Georgia, Go Dogs, and ladies, he's single. In fact, it is his first novel, and it's published by the Story Plant, and it is available everywhere that fine books are sold. Let's hear some of the book, Benji.
All right. So because we can't get too spoilery, I'm going to read the end of the first chapter. Do you want to take your video away?
I do.
Thank
who
you.
wants to look at
I mean, honestly, you're drawing focus. Anyway.
I'm sorry, man. I was just so captivated by you. All right, I'm good.
All right. Hello, everyone. All right. The dentist hit a key on his phone, then slammed down the receiver. A light, cheery symphony filled the air. Taking quick advantage of the moment, Wade stood from the toilet, exited the bathroom for the Chicago-lined hallway, and then said in as innocent a tone as he could adopt, "Hello? Hello?" He meandered slowly down the hallway, as though it was the first time he'd been there. Wade, what are you? Dr. Emmett called. A moment passed. A button clicked. The symphony died. A brief rustling came from the exam room. Then Dr. Emmett poked his head into the hallway. Wade, it's so good to see you, Dr. Emmett said without smiling, but he didn't move from the doorway. But I thought you were going to wait in your car. I should only be a few minutes. Wade glared at the older man, noting the wrinkles in his brow. Dr. Emmett could be worried. Dr. Emmett could be angry. Real Dr. Emmett was such a mystery, unlike the Dr. Emmett who wandered across Wade's mind every day. That one nibbled at him, taunted him, kissed him. Wade had no idea how to read this real Dr. Emmett. Wade approached the dentist inch by inch, walking past John Hancock toward the Sears Tower as though he were covering the actual blocks and not just passing the wallpaper. Dr. Emmett, it's been an hour that I've been outside, Wade said calmly. I saw your last patient leave already. Some lady and her son, right? Dr. Emmett nodded, but came no closer. An hour, sir, Wade repeated. Wade dropped his head in disappointment. He didn't blink. You summoned me here? And you kept me waiting an hour. I'm sorry, Wade. Why? Wade blurted. I'm sorry I kept you waiting, Wade, Dr. Emmett muttered. I guess that was rude. You guess? Dr. Emmett rolled his eyes and changed his approach. His demeanor shifted toward menace, and he finally stepped out of the doorway toward the counter. Whatever, you're here now, in my damn workplace. Wade bristled. Well, I had to use the bathroom, sir. Dr. Emmett stepped closer to Wade, then past Wade. Then he opened the damn door back to the lobby for Wade, waiting for him to follow, like it was nothing, like they didn't have plans, like he was just dismissed, like it was so easy, like Wade was disposable. Wade, dumbstruck, just stood there, and eventually Dr. Emmett had a tone. Well, Wade, now that you're finished, could you leave my office before someone sees you? Wade's eyes widened. Who the hell would even see me? You're here alone. We have cameras. We have security guards. And more important than all of that, I have boundaries that I've already told you, Wade. We met here, Dr. Emmett, Wade asserted. You're my dentist. Why couldn't I just need an emergency crown or something? I mean, it's conceivable that I could just be here. Dr. Emmett's veins bulged in his forehead. Listen to me, Wade. If you don't leave here right now, you're going to need a goddamn emergency crown. Wade was stung, but he didn't back down. I thought you liked my mouth this way, Wade said. Dr. Emmett smirked, not to be outsmarted. You can tell people the truth about this just as easily as I can, Wade, which is why I know you won't. I could cause a lot of trouble for you, Doctor. You can't threaten me, Wade, Dr. Emmett said. You have too much to lose. Now just go. Why'd you keep me waiting if you just wanted me to go? Dr. Emmett paused. It's not like that there's anywhere that you have to be, Wade. Your whole life is spent just filling time. What? Wade said, approaching the counter, trying to steady his sudden nerves. Go home, Wade. I'm not in the mood for you right now. Dr. Emmett hit the light switch outside his office, illuminating the hallway where they stood. Wade's eyes squinted, the blue of them sparkling in the track lighting. There, Dr. Emmett said, now you can see your way out. Wade recoiled, turned toward the lobby, and he couldn't motivate himself to just walk away from the good dentist. But Doc, will I hear from you tonight? I mean, if you're in the mood to talk later. I don't think so, Wade. You crossed a line. Wade was unsure exactly of how he'd crossed one. He'd dated people before. He'd gone to see them at work. It hadn't been a big deal. Certainly wasn't a make it or break it situation. Granted, Dr. Emmett wasn't like anyone Wade had ever been with in many ways. The fact that he found him attractive at all had been surprising. Dr. Emmett had been so persuasive in the beginning when Wade was so confused. Once again, Wade was confused, and Dr. Emmett was so certain. Look, I don't get this, Wade confessed, still afraid to look at the dentist. To look at him, it might be over. Over. I never know where I stand with you. You don't stand anywhere with me, Wade. The office phone rang. I really have to get that. You interrupted me before. Dr. Emmett walked behind the reception desk and picked up the line. He eyed Wade's back, and Wade started to go away. Dr. Emmett picked up the phone and said, "Oh, yes, Daphne, hello. Did you and the good folks ever track down where my damn sofa is? Or do I have to wait another full day for delivery?" Wade froze. Daphne, I don't want to hear any excuses, Dr. Emmett said. My time is valuable, and I can't just be waiting around for you like a putz. Enraged, Wade turned, huffed, and grabbed the ceramic mouth model up off the counter. The jawbone connected to the back of Dr. Emmett's skull before he got out another word. Wade felt the crack more than he heard it. The dentist slumped to the ground behind his desk. Wade looked down upon his lover, with the mandible firmly in his grasp, and with Daphne saying, "Hello? Hello?" He walked through the lobby and out the door. Wade reached the Prius, opened the door, tossed the teeth into the passenger seat, and then he took another swig of the tea, which was cold now. Wade drove away, the engine barely even purring as the car exited the parking lot. Thank you. Was that too long?
Oh man, it was fantastic. It was fantastic. Jesus, man. I love that part so much. And man, I'm surprised you gave it to him right here. And that's incredible, guys. You just heard Benji read it. And you didn't read this book yourself for the audio, did you?
No, the audio is in process with someone else.
Right. So it's going to be available on audio, right?
I believe so, yes.
Outstanding, man. That's you've got Prius violence in the same sentence. I love it. Man, you're a treasure, Benji. You are, man. That was incredible. Listen, I want to say quickly, there's a question here that I'm going to ask you, but if you guys have any questions for Benji, please ask them and put them in the Q&A so that I can get these answered before we run out of time. And yeah, the jawbone, that's correct. Jawbone is connected to the skull. All right, man. I'm serious, man. Your fans are freaking out. They love it. So, okay, first question up, man, is from Jonathan Lupo. And I hope I'm saying that.
Oh my God. What?
It says dream Oscar bait and lifetime TV movie casting for Impacted. Go, Benji.
When I was writing it, I had Lucas Hedges in my head, but he is too old now. My friend Lacey has the whole thing plotted out in her head. She's the one who kept waiting for a good stopping place to be able to stop and eat a sandwich, and then read the book in 3 hours because there was no place for her to stop. And so, but yeah, dream Oscar bait casting. I'm finally hoping that eventually Lucas Hedges would get an Oscar. And in addition to that, I also think that Marcia Cross might be interesting as the as a character who shows up in the book later, if only just because she liked my tweet and knows who I am now.
Right. What I can tell you, when I was reading this book, man, the kid who played Wayne in the show Wayne, I don't know if anybody's ever seen that, man. It's a Prime show and it's wonderful. But the kid who played Wayne is who I saw as Wade as I was reading. I was like, this guy would be perfect, almost to the point where I wanted my agent to reach out and to see if he would be interested in doing it.
Oh, by all means.
Yeah, it would be amazing because that kid would be perfect for it. Again, if anybody has any questions, yeah, man, they're rocking out the questions now. Okay, this is from Marianne. It says
Marianne Lozano? Yay!
It says, can I sit with you at the lunch table?
Okay.
I'm assuming that's going to be a yes.
No. All right, here goes. And I need everyone to hear this. Marianne Lozano is a fantastic writer. She is a member of the Broadleaf Writers Association, same as I am. She's there in the trenches with the rest of us, just trying to get her words seen and her stories to connect with people. She does great work. And any table she's sitting at is the cool kids table. And much the same way that I need to learn how to accept compliments, she just needs to own that she's a badass.
There you go. And I agree with you, by the way. Jessica Nettles, who we all know and love. Jessica, I miss you so much.
Jessica has a book coming out September, Children of Menlo Park. It's being released.
Yes. Where can we buy that, Benji? Everywhere fine books are sold?
I believe it'll be everywhere fine books are sold. I know that it'll be available either at Dragon Con, Jordan Con, or Broadleaf.
And they will be carried at Eagle Eye, which is where you can buy Benji's book. You can actually buy Benji's book anywhere you want to, but we do encourage you to try to buy it locally.
There are signed copies at Eagle Eye. And
yes, Benji has signed copies at Eagle Eye, which I love those guys, man. They're super cool. Jessica, as her question is, are you going to write more about the quotations dream date guy? I won't name him since you haven't. So she didn't want to give him away, but are you going to write more about him?
No, not at all. No. Anybody who wants me to revisit characters knows better than to try and get me to say what I'm going to do next. Because again, I just sent out chapters, but didn't allow anyone to comment. So there.
That's pretty cut and dry. Do you plan on adapting this to a screenplay yourself, since you're a playwright?
I wouldn't know where to start, and I know too many good screenwriters. So,
okay, when you and I are done here, I'll tell you exactly who you need to talk to. I got a guy for you.
Excellent.
All right. Carmen Slaughter, another one I miss dearly. Carmen, how are you, by the way? Mwah, mad love.
Love her so much. Isn't she the best?
She's amazing. Her review today on Facebook, if anybody hasn't seen that, please go and check out her post about Benji today and Benji's book. It brought me to a full heart today. But okay, what are you going to do next? What's up for Benji Carr? I love this because you're on launch day of your book, right? Today is the day Impacted is out in the wilderness, and it happens every time, so get used to it. What's next, man? We've read it. What's next? It took us 6 hours to read your book, bro. I know you got one ready for me in like 2 weeks, right? So what's next for Benji Carr? What's happening?
I don't know. I have to wait until they reopen the 24-hour Dunkin' Donuts. What am I gonna do?
You need that donut magic.
There's no diners open up. I can't write at my house. It's too lonely.
I completely get it, man. I understand. When the Goodwill shop, they have a little coffee shop, the Goodwill, man. When Goodwill shut down that coffee shop, I was like, shit, I have zero left. I have no other character, because every guy that would walk into the Goodwill coffee shop became a character in the book. You know, that was my
exactly
right.
You won't believe who's at the Dunkin' Donuts at 3 a.m. besides me.
Right there in smack Decatur too, man. Are you kidding me?
All the Emory students are there, and the local homeless population, which sad to say.
They give you the best descriptions. Who do you this is from Ian Volpe. Am I saying that? Volpe? Am I saying that correctly? I hope I'm not jacking up your name. It's he wants to know who you'd pen to direct the movie. I can absolutely see this as a film. It's very cinematic. So
I went to college with David Bruckner. David Bruckner David Bruckner directed a soap opera that I was on in college. He hit me with a car. And because I got killed at the end of the episode. I was on one episode and got killed, which was straight out of Knots Landing. And then David Bruckner went on to direct The Ritual for Netflix, as well as sections of VHS. And he's directed a movie called The Night House that is coming out in a couple of weeks, starring Rebecca Hall. It's going to be everywhere. And I would have to give him dibs. Not that he'd be interested, but I would have to give him dibs.
Man, never say never, man. You have no idea who will come out of the woodwork, man, on a good property. Trust me, man, it could happen. And it's a small world. It gets smaller every day for me. And you'll see what I mean by that, man, as your career progresses. And speaking of career progresses, and this goes back to the question that was asked a few minutes ago, you are under contract for a new book?
I'm under contract for 2 new books, yes.
2 new books, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. Benji Carr has 2 more novels after this one coming out. And I can't imagine you slowing down. This is a freight train book, man. And it's a freight train career that you've got in front of you.
Okay. Lou Aronica and all the people at the Story Plant and John Adcox, all of those people have been really, really, really just supportive and nurturing even before I had a book. Lou Aronica, during my pitch session, one of them, he just said, write something the way you talk, and I think that I'd be interested in reading it. And I'm like, but that's what I did.
That's exactly what you did.
And he's like, okay, then we're good with this. He's the nicest guy, and it's like just really the best. He just asked how smart he is. He's very, very smart.
How smart am I? All right, man. I'm going to hit you with this last question, and then I think we're going to be closing up on the time. But
thank you so much. I'm still afraid Joe's having a coronary somewhere.
Nah, man. Are you kidding me? The new Bohemian style Joe Davids, he's loving this right now. He had his like Cocopelli necklace on earlier in his ponytail. The guy is rocking it, man. He looks like a rock star. All right,
he just said he's fine, but there's an ellipse. The ellipse is loaded. Never mind.
Loaded ellipsis. That's a story title in itself. Okay, this is my brother from another mother, Mr. Christopher Swan, man, one of my favorite writers in Georgia, if not in the world. He's asking you, Benji, what do you start with when you write your stories, man? Are you starting with a plot? Are you starting with a character, a voice, an image, a question?
With this book, I started with a sentence, and the sentence cannot be said on this recording, but it's on the first page of the book. What happens with me generally is I get the sense of an image or a theme or a genre, and I'm just trying to figure out how to make the story that I want to tell fit in a style that is compelling for readers to read it. Cool. And that changes based upon whatever it is that I'm doing.
If anyone would like to know what that one sentence is, feel free to message Benji or myself on Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, email, whatever, and we will send it to you in all caps. And then feel free to put that on t-shirts, bumper stickers, and throw it out there for the world because it's hilarious. But at the same time, hilarious, but yet what does that mean? Let's dig a little deeper. And if you dig a little deeper into this book, man, you're gonna it checks every box. It does. If this book impacted Benji Carr, it checks for me as a fan of storytelling and a fan of Benji's. I was bowled over by the fact that it covered everything I needed. It made me feel exhilarated. It made me feel engaged. It made me feel very uncomfortable. It made me open to new things. It made me closed off to terrible things.
That's what it's like to date me.
What did you say?
I said that's what it's like to date me.
Right. I was gonna say, man. As I finished, I was like, wow, man, me and Benji should have met earlier, man. Because maybe I could have been the date guy. I don't know.
Oh no.
All right, we're going off the rails. Benji, I love you, brother. I love you very much. And
I love you too. Thank you so much for everything that you've said in support of the book, and thank you for everything that you've done. You're really, really cool, and I just appreciate it. Oh God, he's rolling his eyes at us.
No, here's the thing, man. The thing about you is, and I want you to understand this, and I love how you like, okay, everybody pay attention because what I'm about to say next matters. Yeah, I love it when you do that. But this, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to pull a Benji Carr. Okay, I want everybody to listen to this. I don't blow smoke up anyone's ass about what they are doing. If it's good, I'm going to say it's good. If it's great, I'm going to tell them it's great. If it's something that I feel like is massive and could blow like the place up, then I'm going to say that. If it sucks, I'm going to say it sucks. What you've done here, man, is you wrote a book, man, that was going to blow minds. It's going to blow minds from 50 to 15. And I'll prove that to you because I sent this book to two people. I sent it to James Anderson, who wrote the Never Open Desert Diner. And just said, hey, take a look at my buddy's book and tell me what you think, man, if you get a chance. James is a very busy man, and he's one of the greatest writers I've ever met. I consider him a mentor, a friend, a teacher, just a philosopher, a brilliant human being. And he emailed me back and said, dear God, what a fantastic novel. I wish I'd wrote it. And that speaks volumes to your talent, Benji. And then I also gave it to my 16-year-old daughter, who is struggling right now with finding her own identity. And she handed it back to me 12 hours later and said, how come I haven't met him yet? He seems like your coolest friend. So from
Thank
15
you very much.
to 50, man, from 15 to 50, you are killing it, Benji. Killing it. So proud. And I love
Thank you.
Joe, I think we're going to round this out. I don't see any more questions in the Q&A. Like if you want to buy, like I said, I'm going to repeat this, that you can buy Benji's books. You can buy Impacted as of today at Eagle Eye. If you're in Atlanta, if you're around that area, but of course you can buy it anywhere. Benji, you want to go into where they can get it as far as if you want to shoot them toward bookshop.org or anything like that?
Bookshop.org, you can get it at Barnes & Noble, which, I mean, as a former employee of Barnes & Noble, I kind of have to say. In addition to that, you can also get it on Amazon. My website is benjicarr.com. You can go to the Story Plant website as well in order to get copies of the book from any retailer anywhere. And buy local when possible. And thank you to everyone.
And if you can't buy local, buy it unlocal. Buy it anyway. Buy several of them. They make great like birthday presents and Christmas presents and that kind of thing. Whatever the next holiday is, man, Impacted is the book that you should be giving out.
I gave one to my dentist.
As everyone should. Joe, thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you,
read his
Brian.
books too.
Yes, I mean,
Yes.
the wealth of great Georgia writers we have tonight here is absolutely amazing. And it's been fun since y'all did my job already with the book plugs. I feel that we just need to wrap up and everybody can go have a celebratory drink. So once again, thank you, Brian, for doing the hosting duties this evening. Ben, congratulations. We were so very pleased to have you here. Thank you to everyone for allowing us into your homes this evening. We will see you again very, very soon. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Joe Davich.